There comes a point where writing stops feeling natural. Not because you've run out of time, but because you've run out of something else. You sit down, open your journal, and there's just nothing there. No clear thought waiting to be written, no feeling asking for attention, just a kind of blankness. And it's frustrating. Because you've been consistent, you've shown up, you've written through the difficult days, the confusing days, even the heavier ones. So this feels different, almost like something has gone missing. At first, you might try to push through it. You write a few lines that don't feel like yours. You try to revisit older thoughts, hoping something will reconnect, but it doesn't. And after a while, it becomes easier to just close the journal and step away. It's tempting to see this as a problem, like you've lost your rhythm or your ability to reflect the way you used to. But this kind of pause is more common than it seems. Not every phase of writing is expressive. Some phases are very quiet. Less about release, more about stillness. The difference between a river and a lake. The difficulty is we don't always know what to do with that stillness. We're used to writing as a way of finding something, clarity, relief, understanding. So when none of that shows up, it can feel like the process has stopped working. But maybe it hasn't stopped. Maybe it's just asking something different from you now. Instead of trying to say something meaningful, what if you just stayed with the page without needing it to give you anything back? You could write exactly what's happening. I don't know what to write today, and then continue from there. At first, it might feel pointless, like you're filling space instead of actually expressing something. I know I have felt that way, but if you stay with it a little longer, something subtle begins to shift. Because even in that blankness, there are still traces of thought. They are just quiet and less formed. You might notice yourself writing about the absence itself, about how unfamiliar it feels, or how you expected something to come up, but it didn't. And that in itself is still a form of awareness. Not every entry needs to be insightful. Not every page needs to carry something significant. Some pages exist simply to keep the connection intact. Because writing isn't only about what you have to say, it's also about your willingness to stay present, even when there's nothing obvious to hold on to. Over time, this matters more than it seems, because if you only write when something is clear or emotionally charged, you start depending on those moments to feel connected to yourself. And life is not just made of emotionally charged moments. And when you learn to sit with the quieter phases, you build a different kind of relationship with writing, one that doesn't rely on intensity. And eventually, something returns, not all at once, but gradually, over time. You'll notice a sentence that feels more like you again, a thought that carries a little more weight. And it doesn't feel forced. It feels like it arrived on its own time. If you're in that space right now where writing feels empty, distant, or just flat, maybe the question isn't, why can't I think of anything to write? Maybe it's this: can I stay with myself here even when there's nothing to say? You don't need a perfect answer. You don't need a breakthrough, just one blank page. Because sometimes the plateau isn't a sign that something is missing. It's just a quieter part of the process, and staying through it is still writing. And writing is the only therapy that sometimes you need.